Hello and welcome to the Gavel. I'm Terry Kumi. Let's take a look at what Parliament was up to this past week. Now, the Senate on Wednesday received the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, into the chamber for his screening as Minister of Defense. The minister-designate began with a brief background.
I was born, sir, on 25th December 1967 in Sokoto. I spent my formative years in Sokoto before I went to the Nigerian Defense Academy as a member of the 38 regular course. I was commissioned in 1991 into the Infantry Corps. I want to assure you we're going to work united as we did when I was the Chief of Defense Staff. The important thing is for us to take the ownership of the challenges confronting our dear nation.
Lawmakers questioned him on tackling the issue of terrorism and the rescue of the remaining children still in captivity.
What would you do differently? And how can you assure us that with this nominee or with this nomination that we are sure that you'll be able to work with a team under you to ensure the release of those children and to give Nigeria a better image?
Mr. Nominee, all along you have been serving in the armed forces at the operational level. Now, by this nomination, you are going to metamorphose into the policy level. Now, what are you going to bring to bear based on your experience at the operational level to the policy level, escalated to the policy level with a view to bringing this fight against insecurity, the avalanche of insecurity across the nooks and crannies of the country, so that Nigerians can go to sleep with their two eyes closed and do their businesses without let or hindrance?
So, sir, we're going to make sure that we do a whole of society approach into addressing this issue of kidnapping of school, with technology, working together with the armed forces, the police and other security agencies and the communities. I think that's where the gap has been. No indolence, no act of cowardice will be entertained. We're going to make sure that we follow them critically to see what they are doing from the commanders down to the troops. I was wondering how the general himself was alone when he's supposed to have his own troops with him. So there are questions that need answering. And I can assure you, sir, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We'll find out what happened, who are those involved, including that one for the children at Maga. Having served 39 years all through my career in the armed forces, we have seen what is going on, we have understood what is going on, and we know what we need.
When a lawmaker moved a motion seeking the swift conclusion of the confirmation process, it was immediately met with strong resistance as several lawmakers objected, insisting that the general must be further interrogated. The chamber quickly became rowdy as senators demanded additional engagement and clarity from General Musa retired.
This is a chief of defense staff that had been in the system. He knew everything, and we are talking about security, and he's going to man a ministry that will be handling security matters for this country. Very sensitive. So I believe that we have had close sessions with him severally. And some of the questions that will be asked here and the responses may not be well dispensed at this moment. So I feel we should just allow this gentleman to take a bow and go.
Distinguished senators, resume your seats, please. Resume your seats, please.
Senator, may I get you to resume your seat? We are not asking him questions because we don't like him. We're asking him questions because our constituents would have loved to ask him questions at a time like this. So if we come here and we do politics of bow and go, this is not a period we should say bow and go. Even Donald Trump is on our neck. We have not yet asked him what his response will be to Donald Trump, the President of America. He is not just anybody. chief of defense staff, a nominee for a minister of defense of a country, and you stand up and say you should take a bow and go, with so many questions on the mouth of Nigerians, with over 200 Nigerian children in the bush, kidnapped and being tortured.
The questions continued thereafter.
Many distinguished senators remind us that people know where these terrorists are. They know their roots. And in any case, if they didn't know them, how do they negotiate with them?
Why are we seeing these bandits with super sophisticated guns and our officers are confronting them still with AK-47?
There are still a lot of gaps within the armed forces that is also mitigating against them, be able to achieve success fully into what we're doing. And like I said, we need the state governors, we need everyone to be on board for us to be able to achieve that. For whatever reason, we must stop the killings. Nigerians must not be killed, or anyone in Nigeria must not be killed for whatever reason. We assure you that we're going to be very firm in all we are doing. And everywhere we make sure that recruitments are going to be thorough. And again, it brings me back to a database. It makes it easier. If somebody comes for recruitment and has a number that you can check and see everything is telling you, it makes it a lot easier.
He underscored that negotiations with bandits was unacceptable, asserting that there would be a total ban of illegal mining to stop the killing spree. After several hours, the screening process was concluded. Subsequently, the Senate confirmed the ministerial nominee.
Will the Senate now approve the nomination of General Christopher Musa for appointment as Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Meanwhile, the Senate has passed through second reading a bill seeking to amend the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act to classify kidnapping, hostage-taking as act of terrorism. Staying with the Senate, two separate letters containing two lists of 65 ambassadorial nominees were received from President Bola Tinubu. The notable names for non-carrier ambassadors include former INEC chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, former Minister of Aviation Femi Fani-Kayode, former governors Okezie Ikpeazu and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, former presidential aides Reno Mokri, Senator Ita Enang, as well as former Chief of Defense Staff General Bello Dambazao, among others. Separately, the Senate considered a bill to reduce extreme poverty and strengthen social protection systems through a social welfare service across the country.
This bill mandates the maintenance of a register of beneficiaries and graduates, ensuring transparency and helping track the long-term impact on the programs. The bill clearly outlines eligibility criteria, such as households earning below 5,000 monthly, day laborers earning below 3,000 per job, low-income artisans, subsistence farmers, and residents of slums. This will help to eliminate political influence or arbitrary selection.
What this bill seeks to do is to, by way of scientifically driven data, get data of Nigerians that are living beyond poverty line, and then devise ways and means of bringing them out of poverty. Just like what China did in the early 80s, when there is mass poverty in China. China came out with a similar data-driven approach and then engaged majority of its people in agriculture, thereby bringing out majority of its people out of poverty.
There was no dissenting voices as the bill scaled second reading.
Second reading taken.
Now, the upper chamber equally passed another bill that seeks to amend the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act.
We are confronted with a regulatory gap that leaves critical parts of the financial system operating outside the highest tier of statutory oversight. So this bill seeks to correct that gap and responsibly address the vulnerabilities that may arise.
There's huge discrepancy with regards to payments on transactions carried out on Facebook in Nigeria as against their counterparts in the United States. And I'll say this clearly. Per 1,000 views, I'm speaking for the content creators because, trust me, this social media has become today a very critical source of income for our youths.
I can tell you for free, Mr. President, there are some online transactions that are even bigger than our banks here in Nigeria. So many of them. So I want to commend the chairman of the committee for taking the bull by the horn by coming up with this amendment. And I want to call on my colleague that in the interest of our economy, in the interest of the country, that let us join hands to ensure that we expedite action on this bill so that Nigeria can gain more and also redefine our economy as one of the developed African nations in the world.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the Green Chamber. On Wednesday, the House of Representatives settled down in the Committee of the Whole, chaired by the Deputy Speaker, as it considered 54 recommendations from its three-day debate on national security. One of the resolutions seeks speedy trial of terrorists and bandits and wants their sponsors brought to book openly.
That financiers of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping be publicly named, sanctions, and prosecuted. Terrorism-related prosecution be open, expeditious, and transparent. Carried. That the Special Court for Terrorism, Banditry, and Kidnapping be established. Carried.
The House wants all security expenditure to be placed on first-line charge for quick disbursement to security agencies. Meanwhile, the presidential directive to withdraw policemen from VIPs was heavily debated, as lawmakers called for a clearer definition of who a VIP is.
Police officers are being withdrawn from the VIPs, whether governor, whether minister, whether National Assembly members, whoever. They didn't specify. And if we want to amend it, we should think that amendment that not all police officers that are attached to certain category of people should be withdrawn.
Number 15 is not going against the president's directive. We're only saying that the definition of VIP, what the interpretation means, whether public officers, serving public officers, like governors, like CJN, who is in charge of the courts, like speakers, like members, like senators, are exempted.
The chairman of the Committee on National Security, however, believed that the presidential directive was in order.
Any advanced country, advanced system, they don't use guns to protect individual and VIPs. It's intelligence gathering technology that protects. So that's why let's go by the president's directives and we should obey as ordinary citizens that no police escort instead of using this clause. Now the outside that will think that we're just doing it for ourselves to protect ourselves as we are scared of something.
I don't believe public servants are very important persons. They are just public servants. For the period they are serving. When they finish serving, they go. So I don't think defining governors, justices of federal courts in the country, and even state courts, and falls under VIP status. So there must be deliberate definition of these status.
With your clear explanations, I think number 15 is okay. I think we can leave it like this.
Other recommendations contained in the resolution include construction of walls for the country's borders, comprehensive auditing and effective tracking mechanism of arms and equipment of security agencies, continuation of weapons mop-up across the country, institution of a national warning system, establishment of a religious protection council, and more. Now, these resolutions are to be transmitted to the Senate for concurrence and onwards transmission to the President, state governors, and other relevant institutions for urgent implementation. Welcome back to the Gavel. The House of Representatives is urging the Federal Ministry of Education to, as a matter of urgency, rescind the implementation of its directive on curriculum review. This resolution was reached following a motion raised by Representative Ofoji Ogboku, drawing attention of the House to the ministry's new policy to remove key subjects such as computer studies, data processing, electrical installation and maintenance, photography, and civic education from the WAEC portal. The House is worried that thousands of students across the Federation preparing for the 2026 WAEC are in distress and confusion.
Why should we remove civic education from our curriculum? It is worrisome that at a time when the world is going digital, especially in the educational sector, and Nigeria is trying to catch up, that you remove a fundamental subject like computer science. Most of our examination bodies are adopting the CBT model for the conduct of their examination. Further worried that thousands of students across the Federation preparing for the 2026 WASC to be conducted by WAEC are in distress and confusion as we speak.
Also, the House, through a motion of urgent national importance raised by Representative Victor Obuzo, passed a resolution urging the federal government to accelerate all procurement processes under the Nigeria Police Trust Fund, following the national security emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu. A member of the House of Representatives also raised a motion of urgent public importance following the abduction of worshippers in Ejiba, Kogi State. The attack, which occurred on Sunday, November 30, 2025, saw terrorists abduct several residents, including a presiding pastor and a 2-week-old baby.
House is aware the effort our security forces are making to secure the whole country, and it is commendable for laying their lives to secure our lives. However, we want to plead with the federal government to put more effort through the Inspector General of Police, Chief of Defense Staff, and Chief of Army Staff to jointly put pressure on these terrorists in order to secure the release of those in captivity. The House resolved to 1. Urge the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to put a complete stop to all mining activities in Yagba East, Yagba West, and Mopamufere constituency as an antidote to the constant terrorist attack fueled by the so-called miners. 2. To further urge the President to mandate the security chief to comb all the forests and rescue the abductees, both in Ejiba and in Dauphin, from the abductors.
Now, the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives has issued a 72-hour ultimatum to the coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Dr. Dennis Otuaro, to appear before it to respond to audit queries involving over 26 billion naira. The committee says it will be compelled to issue a warrant for his arrest if he fails to honor the summons. Now, Dr. Otuaro has so far failed to honor 6 consecutive invitations issued by the committee. According to the Auditor General's report under review, the Presidential Amnesty Program is alleged to have committed several financial infractions, including violation of the federal government e-payment policy on expenditures totaling 17.6 billion naira, payment of 3.6 billion naira without internal audit checks, disbursement of 1.5 billion naira for tuition fees without supporting documents, circumvention of procurement processes, issuance of cash advances exceeding approved thresholds amounting to 1.2 billion naira, among other discrepancies. Well, it's time now for Constituency Focus, and here is Senator Sumaila Kawu, who represents Kano South Senatorial District.
When we came naturally, most of what we are doing, it is on 2 parts or 3 parts: legislation, representation, and oversight. People are more focused on the representation. What are you taking back home to the people to do the constituency project and some project which you will mobilize to your constituency? Maybe I will focus on that one. Although we have achieved a lot in lawmaking, my presentation, bills, motions, contribution in the flow of the Senate, it is very clear, And we have so many things to say about that one. But now I will focus on representation, where we mobilize or we facilitated so many things through our budget and outside the budget. I will focus on some our achievement, which is outside of the budget, which is very, very abnormal. It is through your effort. Last year, myself and my brother from the house, we happened to be member from my constituency, Honorable Kabiru Rurum. We met Mr. President and we discussed a lot with Mr. President. We met him with so many requests to do with our challenges in our constituency. Our main focus is our irrigation scheme, which is there for almost 50 years. And we have 3 dams, major dams in Kano. The last one is constructed by IBB administration, almost 32 years, and is abundant, is underutilized. Therefore, we met Mr. President, we pushed our case, and Mr. President willingly approved some money to us through ecology office to go and reactivate, rehabilitate, and reconstruct some of the irrigation scheme or the irrigation scheme of Kano South Senatorial District. And when we met with the Hadejama Area Ecology Office and some experts, and of course the representative of the people, we agreed to approach the challenge in 4 ways. First, we look at the irrigation equipment, irrigation and farming equipment to our farmers, which will help them to produce more and to carry their finished product, one angle, and to provide a quick solution to our challenge, our irrigation scheme. Therefore, we came with an idea of digging tube wells. It is just 10 to 15 to 20 meter down. We provided almost 5,500 different tube wells in the senatorial district, and we provide pump machine to the farmers. At least 5,500 farms are benefiting from this initiative. And there are some equipment, motorcycle, a tricycle, and some farming and irrigation equipment, which is there. You can see it by yourself in the phase 1 of the project. Then we have a serious challenge of rural roads, drainages, bridges, and of course erosion challenges in the senatorial district. Therefore, we embark on massive construction of rural roads, drainages, erosion control, and you can go there and see it by yourself. Then rural water supply is another challenge, which for now we have provided almost 500 units of hand pump. Almost 500. We have finished almost 350, and we are continue to almost 500 in the rural water supply. We have already achieved almost 75% there. Then the main irrigation scheme, rehabilitation and reactivating of our 3 dams, Kapunchuri, Tiga, and Chalawa Goje. They are working day in, day out. We are opening new sectors, almost 50,000 hectares now is under construction, just to boost the agricultural and irrigation in the area, which by the grace of God, it will change or it will add value to food production in Kano vis-a-vis in northern Nigeria. This is what we are doing, and this is what we are committed to do. I am very delighted and happy, and we appreciate Mr. President of doing so. Technically, we are fighting insecurity in our own area through creating a job. If people are committed, if people are employed, if they have means of living, nobody will go and start creating unfavorable condition to the people. Therefore, you can see everywhere now is green. That is the reason why we say Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is Audu Bako of our time. Audu Bako is our pioneer, premier governor of Kano State from 1967 to almost 1975. He almost turned Kano into an irrigation state. Now, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with what we achieved now, we can say he's a second in Kano South Senatorial District. And we are really, really happy, and we are hoping that the people will use this opportunity to make Kano and of course Northern Nigeria great in provision of powder to Nigeria.
And that's all the time we have on the Gavel. Thanks for your time. Send feedback to the Gavel at channelstv.com. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.